standard research. Okay, so now our question starts with a question of what is research, what actually research is. So research, generally, it is something which is a kind of systematic investigation of facts, analyzing the facts, and making a kind of thorough investigation of the facts, and finally coming to a conclusion and proving a fact. Okay, this is of course research, but to understand what research is, we must just look into we have to look into the other side, right? And we have to answer the question how to do research, or how the research is done, right? And to understand this, we must just explore or trod into this particular area of the question, why do you undertake research? The reason to undertake research varies from people to people. In general, of course, to make it plain, research is undertaken to get a degree. That is very clear. So for namesake, to get a degree, they undertake research. And some, of course, they take research a little bit serious, and they work to get funds or tap funds from organizations. And these kinds of researches are, of course, once again, not just which fits into the framework of the actual researches. I will come back to that. And in general, you can see that it is just for the sake of doing it. But whereas, on the other hand, why should you undertake research? Research should be undertaken to bring out the creativity or the creative impulses in us, and to find something new, to establish something new. And also, in the process of doing the research, we tend to understand the quarter which is not known about ourselves. So we know that we ourselves is divided into 4 quarters, and 1 quarter is not known by us. And this process of research definitely should enable you to make you know yourself. So this is something which is the objective of research. And by being creative and by stating something new, and in the process of knowing yourself, you establish a fact which you experience. So the experience is here, and this experience is not just a personal experience, but it's a kind of universal experience. To know that it is not just a personal experience and it is an universal experience, a lot of reading should take place. So that is what is missing here. So, of course, to say that something is new, I just should have a kind of knowledge of whatever was there in the past. So without knowing that, for me, everything would be new. All right. So definitely you have to read a lot. And only out of this, you can reach a new conclusion, right? Yes. Okay. And this kind of research is something which is to focus not only on individuals' ideas, but these kinds of researches or research should always address the need of the society. So definitely all research should be application oriented. This is what recently you can find all these funding agencies they focus on. And let's come to the type of researchers. We know that there are two different types of researchers. One is qualitative research and the other is quantitative research. And this qualitative research and quantitative research are two different types of researchers for humanities, social sciences, and science. So you can see scientific research is always qualitative, and literary research is always quantitative. Sorry, scientific research is quantitative, and literary research is qualitative. Whereas the recent trends in research has proven that both the researchers can be mixed, and that's called as mixed methodology. So we have this concept of earlier research was interdisciplinary, whereas later research has become interdisciplinary, and it is extended to multidisciplinary research. And this multidisciplinary research now has faced a kind of changeover, and there's a kind of paradigm shift taking place in research, leading this to transdisciplinary research. So this transdisciplinary research needs a lot of reading, needs a lot of inputs, and needs a lot of research. So the target should be this. So we have to know that our research, whatever we do, a kind of a qualitative or quantitative research, which is intra-department or intradiscipline or interdisciplinary, or sometimes multidisciplinary, is something outdated. So we have to just fix that as the target, and we have to work towards that. And we'll just discuss on the methods to work on that also. Okay. On the other hand, we have plainly speaking, we have this primary research and secondary research. Okay, primary research says why things happen, and the secondary research answers how things happen. But when you take the research in the recent days, research papers, the journals of above sciences scopus, they just like that consider Indian research papers as substandard, and they just like that reject these papers because of the third type of research. It is none other than plagiarism. So plagiarism has become a kind of research. And as the technology has evolved, copying and pasting content from here and there, and just like that, coming out with a research article. Okay, that is called as plagiarism. And with the help of this technology, once again, this plagiarism is done in a very dignified and decent manner with softwares like Quillbots, paraphrasing softwares, which paraphrases whatever is there, and it reduces the plagiarism level. But of course, the idea is not changed. Okay, so somehow you borrow the idea, you steal the idea of someone, that is plagiarism. So stealing another author's thoughts itself is plagiarism. Though you may change the words, you may just go to the word processor, right click, and you just find some kind of synonym and replace this word. Okay, well, but even then, it's not your thoughts. Okay, so it is plagiarism. Let's discuss on this also. And Now, the very important question comes, how to do research. Research should always follow something which is called as ethics. And that is why nowadays, even the government has taken various steps to implement ethics in curriculum and a kind of course in research methodology, right? So we all know that ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior. Though ethics may vary from person to person, time to time, and place to place, ethics may be universal too. When it comes to research, ethics should be universal, and you can see it should justify everyone. Coming to research ethics. Research ethics means incorporating ethical principles into research practice. In other words, you can see we should maintain a kind of balance between principles and practices. Many times, this balance is not maintained. In a way, you can find we stick on to some principles and we just do not follow the recent trends or some concepts there are in practice. Sometimes we just follow the modern way of research and we give up the traditional ethics. So both should be balanced. The principles should be balanced with the practice of our research. And coming to research ethics, violation takes place in various aspects, like violation research, violation in authorship, ethical violation in manuscript, publication, and this can be dealt with in detail. Ethical violation in research. Here you can find we are not aware of the appropriate methodology sometimes. We think that only this methodology includes the research tools too. And to identify the right methodology, a proper groundwork is needed. So you must identify the hypothesis, and then we must think the possible research problems there, and we have to look into the ways we are going to address these problems, and we have to choose various research tools, and we have to make a kind of pilot study. We have to apply these research tools, and we have to see how much it is going to be valid, and a lot of groundwork is needed to identify a proper or appropriate research tool. And it becomes inappropriate when we are biased. So when it comes to research, you should not have a kind of biased notion or a kind of prejudiced mind. You should always be open-minded, because in the process of research, definitely we will come across a lot of new ideas which may get deviated from the work, but even then we have to accept those, and it may also lead to a kind of different kind of conclusion, right? And definitely ultimately you will have to change your what are that thesis statement or hypothesis even. So you have to have a kind of a open mind. As I told you, using invalid research tools may also make a kind of research inappropriate. And sometimes people are not considering this particular area or focusing this area much. A research question, they just take some idea and they just work on that, but they fail to question, right? See, the research should be an answer for some question. So what is your question? So you have to spend time, you have to take time to design your question. Because your question itself should be something which seeks a kind of answer to the social, environmental, and the national upliftment. So definitely you have to focus on the research question, and you have to be very clear about that. And since you are not clear, there is a lack of relevance to research question. The research question will be something, when you just see the research will be taking you to some direction, and ultimately there will be something else as a conclusion. And finally, they do not bother to change the research question or modify the research question. So that is once again a kind of ethical violation in research. When your research tool or the methodology becomes inappropriate, then definitely it will lead to faulty data gathering. When the data gathering is itself faulty, then ultimately the data processed would be misleading. So definitely you have to focus on this particular area also. When all these things goes wrong, definitely you will think that you got a wonderful conclusion, but when all these are wrong, then definitely the conclusion which you get itself becomes wrong. So you have to be very careful in handling these steps, and these steps are seriously dealt with in the researchers nowadays. And I know some of the external examiners from European continent and from America, they have rejected some thesis just because there was a lack of relevance to research question. Okay, so after completing your research, whether it's a research paper or a thesis or dissertation or a project, whatever it be, right? After completing the whole work, you just validate your research question. That is very important. And we have other violations in research like selective reporting and misrepresentation of data, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism, redundant publication, and authorship issues. So what happens here? You just take a whole you'll be having a kind of raw data, and according to your convenience, you will just omit some component of this particular data or the text, and you'll be using only those segments which you need to justify your research question. Okay, so that is also a kind of ethical violation. You should not do that. Okay, you have to be genuine, right? And sometimes you give some kind of a false statement, or you fabricate some thing which is not actually or factually right. So that should also be avoided. When it comes to redundant publication, so in research, what happens? we just use a kind of a strategy that whatever research work is done should be published. So ultimately what happens, I have some particular idea and I send the same paper to various authors, various publications. You can find in the production stage, these articles will not be identified in any kind of plagiarism check. Okay. So once 2 or 3 papers, the same content, but with different titles will be there. And once it gets published, you can find the author will be having 2 or 3 papers with different titles, but what happens? The same content. So these are once again violations in research. Okay, we will deal with the authorship issues in the next component. So we have ethical violation in authorships also. There is a kind of major crisis here in research paper creation or research paper writing. The concept of ghost author and gift author, right? You know that there are many people, especially in some cases, the research scholar would be the ghost author, and he would be writing an article for the guide, and he or she will not get the credit. So that is ghost author. And gift author probably is the guide or the research supervisor who never contributed anything but gets a kind of authorship credit. It does not take place in this aspect alone, but also it takes place in the other aspect also. People have become lazy. Researchers have become lazy enough that instead of writing research, instead of spending time in writing research papers, since they are well-to-do, they just someone is in the waiting room. They just like that make someone else to write for them, and they pay for them. And nowadays I can see a lot of messages in many groups stating that research paper writing or academic writing. Okay, so of course academic writing is something which should be done by you, right? Instead of you, someone will be writing for you, and you will be paying for that particular writing, and that particular writer will be ghost author, and definitely when you have not done anything, you would be the gift author. Okay, so this is also a kind of violation in authorship, which is something which you can see nowadays growing like a kind of virus. Okay, and some authors, they refuse to take public responsibility for their study because they themselves are not confident enough, because probably that work is not their work, or they have not focused much on the work. And so what happens, they just like that want to add someone else to their to this particular paper. So sometimes you can find that some people just like asking, may I include your name also in my research work? Okay, and you'll be happy that you will be a gift author. But what happens, that particular person, he doesn't or she doesn't want to take a kind of public responsibility for the study, and so he or she wants to share the authorship. Okay, so this is also something which is happening, and that should be avoided. And when it comes to authorship credits, credit should be given to all those who has contributed intellectually. So this is something which is not happening here now in our country mostly. See, we have a concept that a research paper should be written by a single author, and later concept came that no, when a person register his or her PhD under a guide, of course, the author, the candidate should be the first author and the guide should be second author. In some cases, they say guide should be first author and the candidate should be second author. Okay. But even then, in the process of discussion, okay, when definitely we would be just like that discussing, and we would get some kind of points from some people. Okay. We never give credit to those people. But definitely credit should be given to all those people who has contributed intellectually in one way or the other. So that practice should be followed here. And you can, I've seen an article in Nature journal. There were around 200 authors, co-authors. Okay, so there are around 200 plus co-authors. Okay, so that is also allowed. Okay, right. And you can also give credits to those who draft the article or to revise the article. Okay, and sometimes some experts will just like that go through that and give a final approval before publishing this article. They would just do some kind of fine tuning, and authorship credit should be given to them also. So we fail here. Okay, so we think that we should just like that stick on to one single author or double author. Okay, so this is also something you have to focus on. And there is a lot of controversy here taking place between the first author being a first author or the corresponding author. So who is powerful? Okay, so always they say that the guide should be the research supervisor should be the corresponding author, because the research supervisor is all powerful, and the research supervisor would be a kind of associate professor or a kind of professor. Okay, so that is why we can have them as the corresponding author. Only then the paper will be accepted. It is nothing like that. Okay, so even the research scholar can be the corresponding author. Okay, so it's not a problem at all. Okay, so that is something which we have to know. And when it comes to the ethical violation in manuscripts, okay, as I already told you, intentionally hiding crucial information is a kind of ethical violation. So you can find here most of the times you can see that we lift some quotations from some great writers, and we use those words which can suit our research ideas and research the discussions and analysis, and we just like that leave the remaining components. Okay, and sometimes we intentionally alter data, right? Instead of one word, we just like that alter some other word in the primary source. Okay, and according to our convenience, we just like that make these kind of changes, and that should also be avoided, and it is a violation too. And in the manuscript, you can see most of the times false statements are made. Okay, these false statements are made in different aspects. Okay, probably sometimes you can find there will be a quotation, and the quotation would be endorsed by some writers. Okay, some authors. When you check, then definitely this particular author might not have, or this particular person might not have come out with such a kind of statement. Okay, and you create your own statement and you want to endorse it with some other writer or author, okay, to cite, but this should be avoided. So these kinds of practices are taking place in research writing. Okay, and sometimes you just like that do not give credit to the sources which you cite. Okay, sometimes you do not quote, you just like, instead of quoting, you just like that you remove the quote and you say as if it is your own words. Okay, and sometimes what happens, a kind of wrong quotation is used. Okay, let's just and this is another thing which happens, self-citation. See, people may ask, right? See, it is my paper, and why shouldn't I cite my paper much. Okay, so of course it is also a kind of violation. It is a kind of ethical violation, because even if it is your paper, you have some limit. Okay, so it is considered as a kind of a citation, as a kind of external citation only, right? You can't just like that cite or that one author every now and then. Okay, you must have or that citation from different authors and different places wherever needed. Okay, because you may think that, say, this is my idea which I have already said in my paper, and why shouldn't I repeat the idea here once again this paper? It is a kind, once again it is a kind of plagiarism. We will come back to that also later. And sometimes what happens in the manuscripts, people think that okay, using what are that text without acknowledging is only plagiarism. No, it is not that. Okay, even using photographs without acknowledging is called as plagiarism. Because see, we know that technology has developed so much, and now many studies in computer science are being done, computer science and mathematics are being done on graph and what is that? You can find there are a lot of studies on image processing. Okay, so image processing and graphs in line with the artificial intelligence can easily identify the images. Okay, so there are a lot of methods being followed, and I hope that you might have come across this particular symbol. Yes, can someone unmute your audio and tell me what is the symbol? Where have you seen this? Anyone? You can raise your hands so that I can unmute you. No one? I could see 70 plus participants here. I suppose this is not like our traditional online class which we have. Okay, right? Anyhow, right, let me just go ahead. Yes, so this symbol you can see in web pages. Okay, in web pages you can see this. Okay, CC stands for Creative Commons. Okay, so this is a license, Creative Commons license. So earlier what happened, your content would be or that trademarked, or it would be what that registered with some agencies. Nowadays it is not necessary. You just get a kit of Creative Commons license and you just what that apply there in your web page. That is very much enough. When you see these symbols, okay, you have to be very careful. See, these are the Creative Commons licenses. When you see, you can see the copyright symbol and it's slashed. So this is a kind of public domain. You can, there is no copyright claim for this particular content. Okay, if you just see this symbol, you can happily use it, reuse it, you can alter it. Okay, and here you can take a screenshot of this. Okay, so you can see that each symbol stands for its purpose. Here you can find the first yellow. See, you can see what you can just copy and publish. If you see here for the public domain, and no attribution is required, and you can use for commercial purpose, you can modify, you can change the license, and you can claim that it is yours also. Okay, it's not a problem at all. Whereas now let us see the second one. So in the second one, you can see CCBY. Okay, here what happens, you are allowed to copy and publish, but what happens, you need to attribute. You need to acknowledge the creator of the particular source. Okay. You can also change the license, but definitely you have to acknowledge. You have to state that this image is taken from this particular website or by this particular person. Okay, so you can see the third one where you cannot change the license. You have to restate the same license which is been mentioned already. Okay, so you can see the fourth one. You cannot modify. Okay, you have to use the image as it is, image or content as it is. Okay, and you can see the fifth one states it indicates that you should not use this for commercial use. You can use it for your personal use, you can use it for classroom teaching, but not for commercial use. See, classroom teaching is different from using your videos in YouTube. Okay, so that becomes commercial because you'll be eligible for monetization. Okay, so this is how you find these symbols. So you have to be very careful with these symbols. These symbols they are associated with these images. See, normally I just search the Google, and in the images category I search for research, and I find these beautiful images. Okay, there will be some attractive images, but what happens now? I am addressing you in the online platform, and this is a live streamed. Okay, so I should not use images from this particular platform, just like that. Instead, what should I do? You can see here in this particular row below this research, you can see search all, books, image, news, maps, more, settings, and tool. Okay, so here in the tools you can see what happened. If you click the tools, you can see a set of options being enabled. There you can choose labeled for reuse, okay, or labeled for non-commercial reuse. Okay, so or labeled for reuse with the modification. Based on your need, you can choose the license. Okay, and you have to choose only, or you have to use only these images. Okay, else when you take those images, once again, when it is not for commercial purpose, you will be definitely entitled for copyright breach. Okay, and you have to face the consequences. So now coming back to plagiarism, as we saw, plagiarism not only something regarding the text, but it is something to do with images also, and now videos also. Okay, and those people who are posting contents in YouTube can very well understand the consequences of that. So if you just take that copy and paste images from some other person's page, then definitely what happened, even your YouTube channel will be barred, and definitely it will be deleted. Okay, so that is the extent which this digital technology has gone, and it encroaches into all these barriers. Okay, so plagiarism is a kind of literary theft, which is, as I told you, it is not only just copying and presenting other person's idea, other person's word, but other person's idea also without permission or acknowledgement. Yes, of course, you can use, but definitely you have to acknowledge that particular person. Okay, and it is a very serious moral and ethical offense. And you know very well, C.R.N. Rao, okay, the scientific advisor of the former Prime Minister, he himself was not spared. Okay, so he also faced the consequences. So I always advise you to use these softwares: Turnitin, Authenticate, TBlast, or Urkund. Okay, these plagiarism softwares are with a lot of data backup. Okay, when you use the free versions which are available on net, you have two risks. One is that those softwares would not have a kind of huge what are the data backup, so that you can easily find that you will be having just 1%, 2%, or only 0% plagiarism, okay, in those softwares. When you just check the same with the Turnitin, you can see around 60 to 70% of plagiarism, okay. I know very well that Authenticate is, see, Turnitin is only for institutional purpose. Only through institution you can purchase it, and Authenticate is something which is available, but it is very costly, right? And Urkun is also for institution alone. Okay, so when it comes to types of plagiarism, we have different types of plagiarism. Plagiarism for authorship, which is called as replication. Plagiarism of words, which is called as copying. Plagiarism of structure, which is called as patchwork plagiarism. Plagiarism of ideas, which is called as paraphrasing plagiarism. See, this is what people do nowadays. See, you can see earlier, yes, what happened? We just like that took a PhD thesis from some kind of some library, and they retyped it, and they came out with their authorship is called as replication, right? And we know that copying of words, just like that, copying and pasting, that's something which we normally do. Whereas the structure of the work, we many times we do not know how to proceed, and we are not sure about the structure of any kind of research work. So for that, we just like that refer to various sources, and we just like that imitate or copy the structure of that particular work, and that is once again plagiarism. And I told you the the students or researchers now, the research scholars nowadays, they come out with this kind of paraphrasing plagiarism. Okay, and once I just happened to evaluate one of my students' project. Okay, and I just could see words like ladyism, feminism, and instead of a feminism, you can find a ladyism and feminism every now and then. I could never find a word called as feminism there, because these softwares, they just like that replaced the word feminism with the other words. Okay, so I understood, and when I inquired, I came to know that the student was using once again technology, external softwares to paraphrase the whole passage and give it in a kind of new form. Once again, when I checked for plagiarism, I could just find only 8% plagiarism. Okay, so the softwares are very smart, but you have to be very smart. You have to be over smart. Probably the guide should be over smart to identify these things. So, of course, it can be done only out of precious reading, and of course, the pathetic situation nowadays is many guides are not reading the papers or the research works of their candidate even. That, okay, I am sorry for that. Okay, and yeah, of course, sometimes what happens, incorrect codes are being used, and it's called as unintentional plagiarism. So you never intend to plagiarize, whereas sometimes you might have used that particular quote probably when you write something to support the content, and when your ideas change, what happens? You may not be sure, or you may not be clear about this usage of this particular quote in that particular place, and it would still remain there. Okay, and of course that is also plagiarism. Okay, right? Incorrect quotes is also plagiarism. And this is another thing, a salami publication, which is called as a redundant publication. What happens? See, I publish a particular article in a journal, and what happens? Sometimes I publish the same article in another book, ISBN, because in journals they check for this plagiarism, and in ISBN book they never check for plagiarism. So I published the same article in some other book with a different kind of title. So this is a redundant publication. Salami publication is also there. And as we know already, plagiarism of self, the self-plagiarism, right? Plagiarism of, right? See, I just take some pages, some paragraphs from my already published work, and I use it once again here without quoting, okay? Without quoting, once again, in my next paper. So that is also a plagiarism, okay? So it is your idea, it is already published idea, so you have to just like that or that cite it. Okay, now this is just a kind of what is this, a sample of the what is that, the Turnitin screen, okay, where you can see I have tested one particular article. It was 56 probably, and in another article I can say 42% plagiarism, and this is a kind of plagiarism check which I made on my research scholars papers. Okay, so of course these plagiarism checks can what that improve the quality of research. So you can find this 56% plagiarism. Okay, when I open this, you can find toward the end of the Turnitin or that report, you can see this originality report, whereas out of the 56%, you can see here 52% of are internet sources, and 11% are from publications, and 43% are from student papers. Okay, so once again you can see the numbers 1, 2, 3 and different colors is mentioned. So the what are that source taken from Explorer.unix.es is 8%. Okay, and literary.journal.in is 7%. So you can find these are just like that copy and paste which has taken place. Okay, right. Now let's go to the next. How to avoid this? Okay. So avoiding this plagiarism is, of course, you can't say that ignorance is a bliss. Okay, ignorance is not a bliss at all. Okay, because you are not ignorant. Okay, because when you come to the stage of research writing, you are no more just a kind of student. You are just a scholar. Okay, so that is why the concept of what is that using what is that the MA or the BA students or the undergraduate or postgraduate students in writing research, people may say that see, we have to promote them, we have to what that make them write articles. Okay, it's I personally would say that that is not it is not their cup of tea. Okay, it is not their, they are not in a kind of position to what that write a kind of research article. To write a research article, you must be well informed. So first of all, you have to stop that. Okay, and once probably once when you start or that writing research articles in your undergraduation, that the compulsion of definitely there will be a short, and if you start using the shortcuts once, then definitely you will just continue the shortcuts and you will just like that avoid what that the ethical way of research. And there is another important thing which I just want to share is that many of the people nowadays, they do not read the text. Okay, many researchers are written even without reading a single what that word or line in the original text. Okay, in the primary source. Okay, they just like that read the secondary source, and just like that rely on the secondary source. They infer details from the secondary source, and they just like that, right? So this is also another kind of violation which is taking place in research. Okay, so you can find the COPE Committee on Publication Ethics. It is a kind of what that international committee. Okay, so it comes out with a lot of what that very harsh consequences. You can see public disciplinary action is also taken, and administrative level action is taken, retraction is done, and also even you are blacklisted. So if you are blacklisted, see, you can, all the journals of any kind of indexed categories can blacklist you for your malpractice. Okay, so do not take it very lightly, because if you are blacklisted by any journal, then definitely you can't publish your articles in that quality journals, and definitely you will never get any recognition. And so you have to be very careful. So you have to avoid copy paste and acknowledge the original sources wherever possible. Okay, so this the kind of awareness is being made by courses like research and publication ethics, and I will come to this. And this is a circular, and this is the course structure. Okay, and most of the times what happens, almost all these research writing courses, they focus on academic writing, and this academic writing is something which leads to publication. Okay, see, all the research works are being published. Okay, if it is not published, then definitely it is not considered or it is not a kind of recognized research work. So it is published. Okay, but when you ask why do you publish, okay, most of them they say, see, for PhD, of course, you do publish because you need to have 2 papers or 4 papers to submit your PhD thesis. Okay. Otherwise, what happens? People who started working in some institutions, universities, or colleges, they just write to publish and increase the number of publications. And sometimes they write to gain scores in their APA, right? And for their promotion. Okay, we can say that in CAS you need to have at least 2 papers per year. Okay, whether it is a first author or a second author, it's not a matter, but you need to have 2 papers published. Okay, so for that, definitely you are forced to publish. Okay, but actually, why should you publish? Is to communicate the research finding to the stakeholders. Okay, so definitely your publications should be in such a way that it should create a kind of impact over the research. The stakeholders. It should reach out to the stakeholders, and for that, then you need to put a lot of effort in your research. Okay, and of course, when you just get into the process of publication, okay, the first step of publication is, of course, or the first step of writing the research article for publication is a review of literature. Okay, then definitely you should have a kind of a wonderful review being done, and this review can help you to understand the research gaps. Okay, this is not being done nowadays. Okay, so directly you fix a topic and you start working on that particular topic. You never bother about the research gaps. Who have worked on this particular topic already is not focused much. Okay, so this should also be focused on. Okay, and you have to identify the potential areas of future research, and this your publication should definitely identify. So when I read a kind of research article, then I just come towards the end and I could see possible areas to be explored in this particular research. Okay, so that the research, when you just go through the research or through the process of research, you can just suggest for the future researchers also. So many people, they just would be very stringent enough that they would never share this kind of sparks which they get from the research, but it should not be there. Okay, and so of course publication is the very last phase of research, and I have also seen in the recent days that people they urge their scholars to publish their research papers in the very first month or very first year of the research. Okay, so of course it is not possible to publish. So only after completing your research work, okay, you can publish. Okay, because only then you can find that this particular work has been full-fledged. Okay, and that can be of some use to the stakeholders. Okay, and why do you do research? Is it only to publish? Is a great question, right? Because nowadays, what happens? We have a concept called as publish or perish. If you do not publish, then definitely your idea will be perished, or someone else is going to steal the idea. Okay, so this is something which you have to have in your mind. Okay, right. I would like to just skip this because of publication. Yes, we have already discussed this. Yeah, please, I suggest you to visit this particular website. You can take a screenshot of this and you can see bellslist.net, right? So you just visit this particular page before you approach any kind of journal to publish your articles, because this particular website gives the list of predatory journals and or the fake journals, of course, in the kind of international level. Okay, and also you can check the genuineness of the article, the journals in the UGC CARE platform. Also, you can approach. See, if you have any doubt, you just go to the contact section and you can just like that take a screenshot of the work and you just send that to UGC CARE. They will take 15 days time and then they will definitely respond. See, nowadays many people they just pay some 3,000, 5,000 rupees and they say that it is print only journal and it will take 1 month time and only 18 articles will be published in an in a volume. Okay, but all these things are humbug. Okay, so you can find there are many predatory journals here even in India, right? And you have to be very careful. You see, if you have any doubt, you just write to this particular UGC CARE. Instead of writing to the editor, you communicate through this UGC CARE. They will respond and you can just check the originality or validity of this particular journals. Okay, so to publish in quality journals, you have to just check the database of Web of Science. Earlier it was Thomson Reuters and it is now Clarivate Analytics. So this comes out with the indexing called as Science Citation Index and Biosis Citation Index. So SCI and SCIE, and now you can find ESEI and AACI are also been being done by the Web of Science. And the journals cited by this Clarivate Analytics as Web of Science journals are considered to be standard journals. Okay, they just like that remove the journals which does not fit into the standard of international publishing quality. Okay, likewise you can find elsewhere. Actually, Thomson Reuters were the first indexing agency. Okay, whereas later came the Elsevier in the name of Scopus. Okay, database. Of course, Elsevier is a publication house which came out with the Scopus database, and it also came with Embase database. Okay, so journals in Scopus database are also being reviewed every now and then, and every year you can find many journals are being removed and many journals are being included. And science related publications once again are there indexed in PubMed and EBSCO, right? And there are a few journals being indexed in DOAJ and Directory of Open Access Journals, and these journals are here you can find very much available in India, but you have to just prefer the first earlier, what are that, 4 kinds of indexing agents. Okay, so I will just skip this and I'll just come to the last point. The factors, the other factors like peer review and DOI is also important. See, peer review process. So when it comes to peer review process, there are 3 types of peer review process. One is open peer review. Okay, so it is not much fruitful. Okay, because they say that the article is or peer reviewed, but they are not sure about that. But you can find a single blind peer review where what happened, the article will be sent to some reviewer, and the reviewer will be giving some reviews to your article, and what happens, you will be this particular journal can be partially relied on. Whereas when you see any double blind peer review journal, it is most reliable, where you can find it is the article is sent to 2 reviewers and the review comments is been sent to you, and you are asked to work, rework, and then your article is being published. Okay, so when it comes to open access, so okay, right, it's, yeah, DOI. So DOI.org, any article which gets this particular what is that link, okay, digital object identifier system, it is a kind of a permanent identification for the article or a document. So see, nowadays what happens, there are many journals which just like that come and go. Okay, when a journal is closed, probably the journal would not be able to pay for the what is that online server, and so what happened, the data in the server would be lost as they what is that fail to renew the what is that server space. So what happens, ultimately your article will not be available online. So that is why you have to be very careful that you have to make sure that you publish in journals which give this DOI number. Okay, so your articles will be there in the DOI website. Okay, and this is something which you have to have in mind, and always have in mind that you have to choose the journals which have a high impact factor. Okay, the higher the impact factor is something which you can just rely on, because if you try to publish in some kind of a low impact factor journal, then definitely they may remove, probably Web of Science or Scopus, they may remove the or that particular journal from their database anytime, right? So always try to publish in what that database indexing with a high impact factor. And you can see here Scopus came out with a kind of site score database. Okay, so here site score is something which is more authentic than the regular JCR impact factor. Okay, so this may be the value of site score may be lower than this, but what happened, you can rely on that. See, impact factor 8 would be sometimes it may go down to 4, or it may be removed probably, whereas you can find here site score with 0.8 would be there, but even 0.8 site score would be what is that out of a lot of what is that scrutiny. Okay, and it is very tough to what is that get retained in Scopus nowadays. Okay, right. And there are a lot of journals which offer this open access publication, and you can kindly the paid publication. Okay, so open access publication, I think tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, Mr. Karthikeyan, Professor Karthikeyan will be discussing on this publication modes. Okay, I just thought of before closing, I just thought of just like that addressing on one particular area. So I'm not getting into MLA, right? I'm not getting into MLA 9th edition. I'm just here to talk on one particular aspect called as a review of literature. Okay, when we just do this particular process, when we just undergo this particular process, then definitely our research work would be of some clarity. Okay, so definitely you can just like that identify the gaps, and you see it is very difficult to write this review of literature. And of course, when you a paper, let us say that even during your the first year of research, you can publish a paper, but let that be a review paper. Okay, so when you publish papers in Scopus or Web of Science, there are various categories. Okay, is it a manuscript or a review paper? Okay, so you can write a review paper. Okay, so you can just identify your area of research, and you can just see what are the earlier researchers done on this particular area, and you have to just read it, and you have to summarize those things, and you have to identify these are the gaps which are there. Okay, so you can suggest these gaps to the researchers also. Okay, so you can also mention that I am going to take this particular study. Okay, this particular, I am going to fill this particular gap, and I am going to focus on this particular gap. That means you authentically state that this is what I'm going to work on, and I don't want others to work on this particular area. Okay, so this can be done. Okay, so this is something which you can look seriously. Okay, right. Okay, and I just review of literature. Yeah, there are a few database you can just rely on for review of literature: InfibNet, Shodhganga, Shodhgangotri, yes, ProQuest, and Google Scholar. Okay, if you do not have profiles in Google Scholar, please create profiles in Google Scholar. And searching in Google.com is for school students. Okay, every research scholar, when you search in Google, please do not search in Google.com. You just search in scholar.google.com. Okay, so that you can find the research article based on your search. Okay, this is something which I just want to discuss on. And I just want to share another important thing. See, because nowadays you can find that we are more inclined towards this artificial intelligence or technology. Okay, so we must know what is the future of research. I think I just crossed my time. I think 6 to 7 is my time. I can just take 5 minutes with the permission of the organizer. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, just I hope that you know, or you are introduced to this particular, or you are familiar with this particular concept of technology called as AI, artificial intelligence. Okay, now let's just I would like to share my screen once again. Share screen. Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, yes, thank you. And can I just get some response in the chat box that how many of you are familiar with this ChatGPT, and how many of you started using this? May I just get a response here? Yes. Yeah, I get a few. Yes, familiar, not using, used it. Yes. Okay, very good. Aware but not used. Okay. Used it, sir. Yes, for those people who used it, yes, of course. Please, I would suggest you could use it. You can start using it. Okay. Why do I suggest this? Even in Nature and in high impact factor journals, they started referring ChatGPT as a co-author. Okay, so let's just see how to use this ChatGPT. Okay, Now let me ask ChatGPT. I am very blank. Okay, now let me ask ChatGPT. All right, suggest me some research. Okay, topics on partition literature in from Canada by Canadian authors. Okay, right. So you can see a few topics. Right now, you can just ask it to prepare a kind of abstract for this. Prepare an abstract for the research paper on the double quotes, we double quotes. Okay. So it can give a wonderful abstract. Okay. If you can even ask suggest some Canadian authors, sorry, some authors memory studies. So you can see, so you can get the assistance of ChatGPT. You can, instead of browsing what that thousands of pages and gathering information, you can just whatever you want, you ask ChatGPT and you just get the precise answer for this. Okay, and using this, you can just like that start writing your research work. Okay, any kind of question related to your research, you can ask this, and definitely you can just use it. And now this, it comes with a kind of I'm not what is that making a kind of marketing for ChatGPT. Okay, see here, you must know this. So see, technology is there. See, technology is there, and we are becoming slaves to technology. Okay, nowadays what happens when we type, just because of, see, even now when I type, there are a lot of what are that typographical errors, and the what are that the machine, it took care of the mistakes and it corrected that. Okay, so what happens? So it is making us lazy. But what happened? We should not get what are that enslaved to this technology. We have to exploit this technology. Okay, so make use of the technology to the ultimate use. So I just want to share particular one important thing on this open AI. Okay, open AI is a kind of source code which is there. Okay, which is there to what are that become a threat to humanity. Okay, once this open AI is or the ChatGPT is introduced, many people has lost their job in IT sectors. For instance, let us say we have natural language processing. Okay, let us try to write some kind of transdisciplinary research also. For instance, right, write Python code to recognize voice and convert it to text. So voice recognition, okay. When it comes to voice recognition, it is very difficult to see. I do not know programming. I do not have programming knowledge, but there are many people who do their research in ELT. Okay, so they can use this ChatGPT also to write codes and programs. Okay, so it has given a clear program for voice recognition. Okay, it's a Python program, or if you want Java program, it can give Java program. So any program for that matter. So all these programmers, they just like that sit and work for months together. This ChatGPT can solve or give solution within a matter of few seconds. Okay, so this is what is all about. And the upgraded version, this is ChatGPT is version 3.5. Okay, and this upgrade is something which uses the technology called as GPT-4 technology. Okay, so it is much more powerful than this particular trial version. Okay, so I do not say that using technology is wrong, but of course you can use it. I would always say that I want you to exploit it. Okay, repeatedly I say this. I want you to exploit technology so that you should not become a victim to technology. Okay, and you can befriend it with this technology, right? See, in the future, we do not, or we are not aware of this. All of a sudden, this particular AI came. But this is a kind of project which Google has launched in 2017. Okay, and within a matter of 6 years, we are not aware of this, but all of a sudden, this is exposed to the whole world. And there is something else being there. There is something called as Neuralink by Elon Musk. I hope you must have been aware of this. This Neuralink is once again, it is directly connected with this OpenAI. Okay, this Neuralink, it has succeeded in copying the impulses of the brain and the neurons of the brain and making a copy of your brain, and you can download a copy of your brain in a hard disk. Okay, so this is what this Neuralink has succeeded. And in the future, the next step of this Neuralink is that to create superhumans to understand the codes of computers. Okay, because this ChatGPT uses a technology which is called as it is not machine learning, it is deep learning. That is, machine itself, it learns from the requirements of human beings, from the practice of the human beings. Okay, so earlier machine learning, in the concept of machine learning, human beings trained the machines. Okay, they trained the robots. Okay, that is called as machine learning. That kind of artificial technology, which Eliza was using that particular technology. Okay, and now what happens? We find this deep learning technology where the machines themselves prepare their own program. Okay, which a normal human being cannot understand. So what happens? So this is how superhuman beings are going to be produced. That's what we can say, that with chips, their mind and brain, and of course memory can be copied and it can be pasted. See, when your memory is copied and pasted in my brain, automatically I become you. Okay, and you, because we live only through our memories. So the concept of memory copying in the science fiction have it has come into reality now. Okay, that is why Elon Musk said that I want to die in Mars. That means probably in a matter of 5 decades to 10 decades, his memory will be transferred to 5 to 10 or 100 people's before we reach Mars. Okay, so this is what. So you must know that technology is a great challenge for us, and I always want you to befriend with technology and exploit the technology and make use of technology to the ultimum for your research. And of course, there is no wrong that you can also refer this as a co-author. Okay, it is not just my words. You can go, you can search Google, and you can see what is that ChatGPT as the co-author. Yes, you can see just the search result chat GPT as CHAT GPT as co-author in Nature Journal. Nature Journal. ChatGPT listed as co-author on research papers. It is there in Nature Journal also. Nature Journal is considered to be the one of the journals with a high impact factor. Okay, so this is what has been used. So you can also develop through this. I think I exceeded the time. So once again, I wish you all the best. So please do not plagiarize. You seek the assistance of the technology, and of course, we can also be original. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we have a query.
Yes. Yeah, I could see some questions here.
In the chat.
If the author's work is new and there is no found review of literature, what should we do, sir? Okay, yes, see, the author's work is new. Then whatever you write would be the, what is that, pioneering, trending, what is that concept. Of course, review of literature, we never do review of literature on the author or their work alone. Okay, we'll be doing the review on the concept. Okay, let us say I'm going to apply feminism in this particular author. Okay, you can just see that who are the other authors and the particular let's say in Canadian literature, who are the authors available, and of course what are the works which are done, and in what aspects these feministic writings are being written, or what kind of focus is being given on this concept of feminism by those authors. Okay, when you are going to apply feminism on this particular writer, you can just make a review of literature on what happened the other works also. Okay, so that you can do. And next is in Web of Science database, some journals come under emerging source category. So shall we publish in those category journals, sir? Yes, of course you can publish. And emerging source category, I would always recommend, see, if you are about to publish your submit your PhD thesis, okay, you can just like that use that, right? You can publish in the emerging sources. But what happens, it is for a long stand, okay, it's always better to publish in SCI or SSCI, okay, Social Science Citation Index or Science Citation Index. People may wonder, see, how can they publish their articles of literature background in Science Citation Index journals? Okay, it's not that. Okay, I know good friends here in some NITs and IITs who do some kind of interdisciplinary research. Okay, I hope that you know Professor Satyaraj, who works in NIT, who does his research in medical humanities. Okay, so his articles have been published in SCI journals also. Okay, so you can just do kind of interdisciplinary studies or transdisciplinary research, okay, definitely you can publish. Okay.
Hello, Kavir sir. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have one clarification. Like I thought like you should talk about it.
Yes, please.
After so many years of research and so much, we are looking forward to much deeper research in our department, and like I mean, related to literature and other papers also, other subjects also. But still, there are people who are not entirely aware of the importance of interdisciplinary. When you
Yes.
started the talk with the details about transdisciplinary research,
Yes.
I almost felt like. Where are we going, and how there are still people who think lowly of interdisciplinary research. And I know IET like institution and Harvard and other the QS ranked best
Yes.
institutions, they look forward for interdisciplinary research, but still there are people who think that it is something which is not like the core is important. The core idea is gone somewhere. uh,
Yes.
like, can you throw some light on that, sir?
Yes, definitely, madam. I can understand this. And this is a predicament which the British people has, as we all know that they are known for the divide and rule policy. Okay, so the concept of specialization was something which was imposed by them on our minds. Of course, earlier we have to go back to the early education system and the research which took place. Uh, Oriental education was famous for its holistic education. The Nalanda University, Dakshashil, and they were known for the holistic education. Even universities in European continent, they provided holistic education in those days. Holistic education in the sense that there were no category called as BA English or MA English or BCom or mathematics. Okay, so an undergraduate means he should get knowledge in all the fields in this particular level. A postgraduate, graduate should be a person with knowledge in all these levels or all these domains. Okay, not only a specific domain is focused here. Okay, and a doctorate, who was called a doctor till some 17th century or 16th century, is this, that you can find only those people who is a versatile person who has knowledge in all the domains was called as a doctor. Okay, so our PhD now we say this, it is what is that, discipline specific. Okay, only in our state universities we can find this concept of what are the discipline specific PhDs. Okay, in even not only in IIT but also in NITs. Okay, and all institutes for that matter. PhD degree is not awarded. It never states that so and so has done her PhD in Department of English. It is not that. They just give the degree on the topic which you do. Okay, your department is never mentioned there. Okay, so what they prefer is that you have to trod into the other disciplines, and you have to break the barriers of disciplines. Okay, now coming back here, as we told that in the earlier days you had this concept of the holistic education. Now the same thing has emerged back here. See, in Europe you can find the concept of the job there. In Europe, see, a person will be getting a job if only he just finds something new. Okay, so he has to just like that break the departments into bits and pieces, and he has to create some kind of job opportunity. So that was another concept for this kind of the so-called core. Okay, so we call here core as English literature, whereas some 20 or 50 years ago even, you can find the British universities or the American universities, you can find core means it is just Shakespeare was a core, right? Shakespeare was we had separate department for Shakespeare. Milton was a separate core. Okay, so now that it has been brought together, and of course literature can never be read in isolation. Okay, It is something which embraces all the disciplines. Okay, so that is why you can find. Let me just discuss on the other side. Okay, science. The concept of core was very practically, and it was very severely practiced by the science people, the people of science domain only. But now what happens, because of the advent of technology, people understood that it is not just the knowledge of mathematics, or not just the knowledge of botany is necessary. Then definitely we need to integrate the knowledge of botany and mathematics to understand life, or to understand botany. Definitely we need to understand mathematics, or to understand mathematics we need to understand botany. Okay, so thus emerged this kind of interdisciplinary kind of research. Okay, and now what happens, you can see the let us say the Pythagoras theorem. Okay, let us say mathematical theorem, Pythagoras theorem. It has been extended there probably in physics also. Okay, and naturalists, they say that no, this Pythagoras theory is there naturally, and you can see even the trees, the structure of the trees, even the structure of the roots, they even follow this Pythagoras theory. And geologists, they came and they said no, it is not that. It is not restricted to that alone. You can see this Pythagoras theory is here applied here in our geology also. Okay, you can find the structure of the mountains, the structure of the landscapes, the plates, the tectonic plates. Everything has some kind of pattern. Okay, so you can apply these mathematical principles here also. Okay, so earlier, when everything was integrated as a whole and everything was looked at as a whole, and later you can find they were just isolated. And now once again, what happened? It has been looked at as a whole, and this is branded as a transdisciplinary research. And even in literature, recently I just had a I was there a member of one of the universities in Andhra, and there was a candidate who presented a particular topic, and I was just wondering, the particular person was using the right hand. In our 10th, 11th standard, we might have read, okay, in physics, okay, the Fleming's and the right hand rule, left hand rule, and this was used in literature. Okay, so this is transdisciplinary research. Okay, so breaking the barriers of the discipline and applying the concept of that particular discipline here. And it is not only something that see, when you just transfer the knowledge from one discipline to other, it is interdisciplinary. But what happened? This particular person has made a research in such a way that he has brought ecology also, right? So incorporating ecology, literature, and the physics. So what happened? He says this particular concept is there, which is applicable everywhere. So that becomes transdisciplinary. And nowadays, when you just write projects for funding agencies also, as Madam said, they never value this particular core disciplines. Okay, if only your research is transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, or at least interdisciplinary, they consider your projects. Okay, otherwise your projects will never be considered. Okay, and the funding for literature or humanities, okay, alone, see, you can't find that much now. See, I even myself, I just I just wrote a kind of a proposal for DST recently. Okay, integrating that environment. Okay, so I have to just like that switch over. It is not just switching over, but breaking the barrier and trotting into other discipline and incorporating the knowledge from that discipline into this discipline and creating a kind of new literary theory. That is what eco-criticism is about. Okay, that's all about neo-historicism. That's all about feminism. That's all about Marxism. Okay, so the same thing which now as in transdisciplinary we have to include 2 or more disciplines. Okay, so and doing that research. Okay, so I just this is a beginning. I just want these things get flourished.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed an informative session, sir. Thanks for accepting our invite and for providing clarity regarding publication ethics and also the search engines. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Thank you.
I request the participants